Hello, amazing English 105 students. Welcome to our second video. We're going to be going over George's body paragraphs from his Unit 4 individual project. Now, your body paragraphs serve a very important purpose in your writing. They prove the argument that you set forth in your introduction. They also help you to satisfy your purpose. In this case, George's purpose is to convince his audience, fellow students, that the tablet that he purchased is not a good fit, and that other students who are looking for a tablet should avoid it and consider purchasing a laptop instead. This is all clearly stated in his introduction, so now George's task is to walk his audience through his reasoning, to present his claims and his evidence and explain why it matters. Now, before you start writing your body paragraphs, you want to decide on a structure that's going to work well for you. For your Unit 4 individual project, you want to have at least 2 paragraphs, so we have some choices here. George could have chosen to have one body paragraph talk about one reason why this tablet isn't the right fit for students. He could have then had a second paragraph perhaps talk about a second reason why, and so on and so forth. George chose to do a different route, though. He chose to talk about the positives first, the reasons why he originally thought this tablet would be great for him, and then he included a second paragraph that discussed why that was wrong. Why, despite the positives, the negatives still outweigh them, and it's just not the right fit for students. And George chose to do this for a couple of reasons. One, he chose to do it to prove how objective he was, to enhance his credibility. He didn't just hate it from the get-go. There were some positives, and he admits that, and that makes him appear more objective and thus more credible and trustworthy to his intended audience. And it also allows him to take a more narrative approach, to walk his audience through his process as he experienced it. These are the reasons why I purchased it. These are the things that I liked about it. However, once I started using it, these issues came up. And sometimes that narrative approach can be a little bit easier for us to dive into, especially when we first start learning research and argumentative writing. But it's worth noting that either structure works well. You can take a more narrative approach, such as George shows us here, or you could take a different approach and really have each body paragraph break down your claims one at a time. The choice is yours. Let's take a look at what George did here, though, because it's really important for us to analyze it together. So George's first body paragraph, going with his structure, he's going to talk about the positives first and foremost. And he clearly states this in his opening sentence. This is also called a topic sentence. And this opening sentence just lets us know what this body paragraph is going to talk about. In this case, the positives that led George to his purchase. He talks about the things that he wanted and the ways in which this tablet seemed to satisfy that particular purpose. He uses a lot of very specific and vivid details from his own experience, and then he backs that up with evidence from an outside source, in this case a professional review. One reviewer described it as, quote, a tablet that made a statement and looked far more expensive than its budget price tag. And because he's incorporating outside evidence, he's giving credit where credit is due, and he includes an in-text citation here, the author's last name, comma, and year of publication. So George is combining his own experience with this particular product with supporting outside information to strengthen his claims and to show that his experience isn't unique. It's supported and backed by other sources and information. So that's a great job, George, outlining the positives. But now we've got to make a switch. His second body paragraph is going to talk about why, despite these positives, this tablet is still not a great fit for students and you shouldn't buy one. He makes this transition with a transitional word, however. And he very clearly states in that opening sentence, while the look and feel of the tablet were just what I wanted, it lacked the basic features I needed for the tablet to work for me as a student. So this opening sentence is transitioning us to a different point. It's shifting our mindset, and it's letting us know what we're going to talk about in this particular paragraph. And then George breaks it down. He illustrates that particular claim by explaining exactly what's wrong with it. What are the basic features that this product lacks for it to work for students? George describes the lack of space, using a transitional word first to again guide the audience. He supports that with outside evidence, So he incorporates additional outside evidence to explain why this is a problem, so why the lack of storage space is an issue. And then he also uses his own personal experience to, again, support. So this combination, this balance between details and examples from your experience, supported and illustrated with outside data. So he does that here as well, combining both supporting information from an outside source as well as his own experience to explain how we know this is true and why it should matter to you as the intended audience. He also includes another reason why this tablet's not right for students and does the same thing again, clearly states it, uses outside evidence, and then combines that with his personal experience. He uses in-text citations whenever he's paraphrasing or quoting, and that's giving credit to his sources, it's establishing his credibility, it's strengthening his argument, and it's showing his audience that this isn't just based on his own personal opinion. His opinion is supported by outside evidence, and all of that is strengthening his argument and ensuring that you, his audience, is going to agree with it, is going to listen to what he has to say and be persuaded by it. Now, George did a great job on these two body paragraphs, lots of great details, good transitional phrases, strong claims, and a good balance between his point of view and his source's support. I also want to make sure we note the formatting. So George is continuing to use a consistent readable font. In this case, he's using Times New Roman, and he's making sure it's 12 point. He's also made sure that it's double spaced, which is easier for your audience to read. So in terms of Microsoft Word, he's going into paragraph here and making sure that we are double spaced. And he's also making sure that we have an indentation. So whenever we have a new paragraph starting, we're hitting the tab key once, or we're hitting the space bar 5 times to indent the paragraph, which lets your audience know this is a new paragraph and thus a new idea. And paired with those transitional phrases, it just helps ensure that your thoughts are organized, your reader stays on track, and they don't get confused. So really great job, George. Fantastic work on those body paragraphs. And if you'd like to learn more about how George wraps this up in his conclusion, stay tuned for our next video, number 3. And have an amazing time writing your body paragraphs, incredible students, and we'll see you in video 3.